by my window, just looking out at the rain. Sitting down by my window, all around the valley, all I could see was rain.
My question is what drives you to keep a legendary sound of Big Brother and the Holding Company alive in the 21st century?
That's a good question. A lot of times people say that when someone asks them a question, but it is a good question because why would someone, with Big Brother, it's obviously music that basically was written 50 years ago. And what would be the point other than, making money, that you could still make money going out and playing? What would be the musical point of continuing to go and do it? And one of the best answer I can think is that, one, it's fun musically. It's like Big Brother music is fairly simple music. A lot of it is, of course, the music we did with Janice, and of course people want to hear those songs. But it's a strange thing. There's songs that we did with Janice, like Piece of My Heart and like Ball and Chain, that are basically simple songs. They're blues and things like that. And we don't go out and play them like a cover band would play them, like, trying to listen to the record and what did this guy play and try to imitate them. We go out and we play them basically like we own them, So we have fun with it, and we don't try to play what we played the last, there's no attempt to do that. It's more used as a vehicle to play. And when I play with Big Brother, I get to play really out. I get to play really out as a drummer, meaning I get to play all of the shit that I can play on that music, because it's very open-ended music. It's like a foil for musicians, which is the same reason why over the years we've had a lot of really good musicians in the band. We've had like a lot of great guitar players, a lot of great singers, and particularly with singers, it's like sort of to take that material, like for someone to sort of sing Ball and Chain, which is like a Janice signature piece. They sing Ball and Chain, they can't possibly sing what Janice sang on it. It's like a blues. And what we try to find is we've always tried to find singers who are really great blues singers, who can take that material and sing it with authority, with real authority, and in some way make it their own, but in some way reference it as it's like a vehicle. And most of the Big Brother music is that way, even though there are set songs and there's a little bit of jamming. We're not really a jam band, but there's a lot of room to play. There's a lot of room to do things with it that you can sort of personalize it and each time have fun with it. One, because it's open-ended and it's like this kind of open vehicle in being blues-based music and rock music. And the other being that we're not trying to be like a copy band. We're basically, Peter and I, the two living guys left, we're basically still just, a drummer and bass player who love to play this stuff because we can play out. We can have fun with it. We can play really strong music. Whereas like other bands I might be playing at a band where, like a cover band, where a guy who I play with, who plays at clubs around San Francisco, and he does everything from like Frank Sinatra to Van Morrison to Stevie Wonder. He does all of these things, all of these covers. And when I play with him, I sort of try to play the right thing for the song. Whereas when I'm playing with Big Brother, it's just like, I'm Dave Getz. I play this music. This is mine. I can play it the way I want to play it. I can play really hard. I can play really, strong and attack it. And if I think of a different fill to put in than I did last time, I can do that. I'm not chained to the original version of these things. And we've always tried to play with other musicians in the band who understand that approach rather than the sort of copy band, tribute band approach to music.
Do you're sort of like your own tribute band. I've seen other
Well, like our own
bands that have
tribute
done
band,
that.
okay, yeah.
Actually try to sound like that.
I love tribute bands. I heard a Steely Dan tribute band about a year and a half ago one day, and they were great. They're called Asia Vu, and they, and to do Steely Dan and to get those parts right, that's hard. You have to be quite a level of musical chops to be able to do that, and I really had a great appreciation for it. And I love Steely Dan, so it was fun. But Big Brother's never been that. There are other bands out there that do Janis and do Big Brother where they actually literally transcribe the parts we played and learn them and go out and play them.
You had an amazing career in art, music, of course,
Yeah.
and
So-
family.
Yeah, family, yeah.
How do you balance that?
I don't know if I do balance it. I go back and forth a lot. There have been times in my life from the time I was 19 to the time I was 26, I didn't play a lot of music. I didn't want to be a drummer. I wanted to be an artist, and I went to art school, and I lived in Europe, and I had a Fulbright, and I taught art. And when I got into Big Brother, I was 26, and I hadn't really played except very occasionally at parties for about 5 years. But I was a good drummer when I was a teenager, and I knew I could do what was required. And at that time in rock and roll, I would say at that time in the 60s in rock and roll, the ante level in terms of skill, technical skill, was much lower than it is now. So I knew I could do that with one hand tied back on my back. And I got into this band. Of course, it was fun to be in the band. We weren't thinking we'd become famous or anything like that, because Janis wasn't in the band. Just 4 guys. And it was sort of a psychedelic freak rock jam band. And we were popular, and we were working, and it was a lot of fun, and I was making money, and I was still teaching at the Art Institute. I was still teaching beginning and intermediate painting, and I was 26 years old. When Big Brother really got going, I had to basically give up art, and I really didn't do much art for about 13 years. 1979 is when I really started picking it up again. I was living in Los Angeles, and my musical career sort of crashed. I was in a band for 5 years that was a very interesting band. It was like a cabaret, kind of almost like a theatrical kind of thing called Passengers, and it didn't make it. We had a lot of green lights, and we were almost signed, and finally it sort of just fell apart.
That was around the 1970s?
78, 79. And I just went and I rented a studio. I was living in LA. I rented a studio in Santa Monica, and I started to learn screen printing. I took a class in screen printing, and I learned how to do screen printing, and I basically became a printmaker in the next 7 years. I didn't really do much drumming in that time. Again, the drumming got pushed off to the side. It was just like fun sitting in with these guys and 1 or 2 gigs a year. And for 7 years, I really just pushed my art, and I was doing a lot of printmaking and a lot of showing and being in show. Then I moved back up here. That was caused, it was sort of a confluence of things that brought me back up to the Bay Area that I didn't plan on. One was sort of losing my, where I lived in LA. We had to, the house we were living in was sold. My wife had a baby that was, we were thinking, where could we live in LA that, would be a good place to bring up a child. We were both in our 40s. I was 46, she was 44, and we had this baby suddenly, and which we wanted. But I had this house up here in Fairfax. It was run down, and it had been rented for 13 years, and we moved back into it. We just came up. We got in a van and packed all our stuff and 2 cats and a baby, and rode back up to the Bay Area. And I didn't know what was going to happen. I really had no idea what was going to happen, but I knew that we had a place to live and a place that would be good to bring up a child in Marin County.
Raise a family.
Raise a family, exactly, and that was a priority. And then Big Brother got back together. That wasn't in the plan, but someone called us, a promoter, and said, would you guys get back together for the 20th anniversary of the Summer of Love and do a show? And we started to talk to each other after many years, and we got together and played, and we decided we would do it. We would, play and do some gigs. And suddenly that was happening again. So then that went on for like about 2 or 3 years. And one of the guys in the band moved to Seattle. And all of a sudden it wasn't happening again, and I went back to school. And at that time I thought I could get back into teaching art, which was my first love really. And I couldn't get a job at the college level again, so I thought I'll teach high school. So I went to Sonoma State. I was 51 years old. I went to Sonoma State and I got a teaching credential. I spent a year and a half going back to school at the age of 51. I got a secondary California high school teaching credential, and I got a job right away teaching in 2 schools in Nevada. And I was teaching art, and pretty much during that period of time from about 93 to 95, 96, not much was happening with Big Brother. And then that guy in Seattle moved back to the Bay Area. And all of a sudden we were starting to get offers again. And I found that I hated high school teaching, and it was always, I really didn't fit in the mold of a high school teacher. It wasn't the right decision for me. So I went back and we started touring again. And that evolved into a much longer thing again than I thought it was going. It went on from about 96 to about 2011, 2012, we were really on the road a lot.
Wow.
We went, to Japan 3 times. We went to Russia. We were in Europe maybe at least a dozen, maybe 15 times. We were all over the United States, all over the Midwest, all over the South. We went everywhere. And we were just this kind of like a touring journeyman 60s band, with a lot of different singers, but basically the 4 original guys. And then one of the guys in 97, James, dropped out. There was a falling out between him and the rest of us. And he quit. And then we went on with the other guitar players and things like that. And in 2015, Sam Andrew died. And that was a big blow. And then since then, I'd say probably since 2015, it's really starting to sort of slow down. And I'm the oldest guy now. I'm 70. I'm going to be 77 in about 3 weeks. The other guy, Peter, is like 70. He's going to be 73 this year. He's 4 years younger than me. But we're kind of up there and we're pushing the envelope. But so are a lot of other bands. Look at the Rolling Stones, and sort of like when the whole rock and roll thing started back in the 60s with the Beatles and the Stones and all these bands. It was basically a youth culture. Everybody was 22. I was 26, but it was like I was an older guy at 26. Yeah. Most guys, like in the Grateful Dead, you had guys like Bob Weir who were like 18, and Country Joe and the Fish. I think Barry Melton was 18 or 19. So the age range was very little, and a lot of us are still doing it now. And it's sort of no one ever had the idea that we would be doing this, that we would be playing rock and roll for one thing, or that we were playing the same music that we in some way created in this time 50 years ago, that would still be our vehicle to get out there and perform.
Nobody ever thought of that back then.
Nobody
we're going to
thought.
be doing this until we're 79.
Nobody even thought they'd be living that long. So the art thing. So the answer to your question really about art and music goes back and forth. Right now, in the last year, I've done more art because I don't have that many gigs. I'm not traveling that much. So I'm home and I've got my studio and I have interesting things that I want to do and get out and show to people. So a little more of that is happening. I'm starting to write now, which is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I think that might be like the actual next phase of my life, to actually start writing the memoir and the stories and some of the things that happened.
I would love to see that. I would love to read that.
Yeah.